Hello, and welcome to episode 7 of BJ's Tech News. Today I'm going to do a review as well as showing you guys how to install and configure ESXi Hypervisor 5 from VMware. First thing that you need to do is go to vmware.com, go to support and downloads, locate the product that you guys want to download, VMware vSphere Hypervisor ESXi. Click on that. Click on the download button, and you need to have an account with them to download it. The reason why is because once you have an account, they would actually give you a license or a serial number to activate your hypervisor. Even though it's free, you still need a license to activate it. Once you get that stuff done, also this information I will definitely put it in my blog. Again, my blog is bjtechnews.wordpress.com. I'll post all that stuff up at my YouTube channel. So once you got that downloaded, you can download it as an ISO. For this video, I'm going to use VM Workstation. VM Workstation that I'm using, the version that I'm using, I think is version 8. Believe it or not, yeah, version 8. So believe it or not, VMware, you actually could install a hypervisor. I don't recommend doing this like this. Again, there is a section within the site that I will also place on my blog that gives you a guide of hardware. It's pretty cool because you could pick the product that you release. Let's say all system type. I don't know. Let's say all, and partner. I'm a Dell person, so I'm gonna hit the Dell section. And features doesn't matter. Even though some of these features are pretty cool, I do like the FT, the fault tolerance, and updated view. When you do view the list is basically PowerEdge servers. PowerEdge servers on the Dell side is very popular with VMware. Again, the PowerEdge series that I've dealt with would be the 1850s, 1950s, the R710s. Those are the ones that I've actually physically rebuilt from the ground up with vSphere or ESXi 5 and 4. So for this demonstration only, I'm only going to use VM Workstation to show you guys how the process is and how to get you up and running. Again, I recommend this stuff to be done on a server. So we're going to create a new virtual machine, typical. And we're going to browse to where that ISO is at, which is right here. Open that up. VMware automatically detects that to VMware ESXi 5 version. So we hit next on that. I'm going to give it a location, and I'm going to place it where my other VMs are at. I'm going to create a new folder. Oops, not what I wanted. Let's delete that. Yes, click here. There you go. So we're gonna call that BTNHD. There we go. I'm gonna hit next. Actually, let's also rename it to be there we go. Let's see how much space I have on the D drive. Again, this is my testing environment, so I don't have a lot of space. I'm gonna use the 40, which is recommended to install the hypervisor. It's gonna leave me about 3 gigs left on my hard drive, but this is only a demonstration. Most likely I'm gonna delete it again. So let's hit next. By default, it splits the virtual disk into multiple files. I like keeping it like this. And 2 gigs is in that. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna finish. Once you finish, it should start automatically. If you're not installing it the way that I'm installing it, awesome, good for you. And if you are installing it on a Power Edge, awesome. Again, if you're installing it to a server of any type, I normally like Power Edges or Dells or whatever. If you're installing to a server, most likely you're burning the ISO into the CD, placing the CD into the CD tray of the server, going to BIOS, changing the boot sequence to go to the CD, and it boots to the CD, and most likely once it boots to the CD, you get to this portion. And you got either boot to the standard installer or boot from the local disk. You don't want to boot from the local disk, you want to boot to the standard installer. Hit enter. You get all this nice, cool looking gibberish stuff pop up, which is actually loading the ESXi installer. Remember, this stuff is based on a Unix platform, so you can actually enable SSL, putty in into your box and do whatever you need to do, which is pretty cool. Installation shouldn't take that long. This video should be real quick. I'm gonna try to do as much as possible to show you guys how to get it up and running. I would like to have one virtual machine up and running in the ESXi 5 version. Alright, so welcome to VMware ESXi 5 installation, blah blah blah. Yes, continue. Again, they actually show you a website of where to go for the VM hardware guide. I will post that up on my blog. Hit enter. Bunch of gibberish. You know, you can read it if you have a time, but it's just basically you're selling your soul to VMware. It's just a joke. F11 to accept and continue. Scanning for any available devices. Again, that will take a while, but because I'm doing it as a VM, it shouldn't take that long. Select a disk to install or upgrade. I'm gonna select this disk. I only have one virtual disk on this virtual machine, but if you're dealing with a server with multiple hard drives, most likely what I've seen in the past, a lot of people like to do a RAID, like a RAID 5, and then partition that hard drive to have like at least 10 to 20 gig. That 10 and 20 gig partition is where they put the hypervisor in, and then the rest of the hard drive, they initialize it and they use it as their virtual machine storage. Other ways to do it is you could do the same thing, But rather than putting all your virtual machines in the extra space, you use that extra space to put all your ISO stuff. Then you go inside the settings within your virtual machine. Not with your virtual machine, inside your ESXi. And if you guys in your company have a SAN or a NAS or a NetApp, which is actually like a NAS or SAN, you could create a LUN with a huge amount of space and attach that LUN into your hypervisor, and you can use that as your storage bin. In my case, in my experience, I actually did it the second way. I had a NetApp, created a LUN, had created a LUN of about 2 terabytes. I think it was 2 terabytes, and then I attached that LUN into my hypervisor. And then I had all my ISOs on the second partition, and then the first partition was the OS. I also was playing around as a lab at one of my old jobs, and I had the OS on a USB stick, and the hard drive of the server was basically VMs. So it's up to you, different flavors. Let's get back to this. Yeah, let's hit continue. That's what we want. US default, yes. Root password. So you want to give it a root password. Give it a strong root password and remember it. And we're going to get the down key to go to the next one. Make sure you type it just as is. Matches, hit enter. Scanning the system, gathering all the additional system information. Again, it's going to take a while. Okay. System encountered the following warnings. Hardware virtualization warning. Hardware virtualization is not a feature of the CPU or is not enabled. Okay. The reason for that is because I did not go into my settings of my virtual machine. Didn't go to processor and did not turn to virtualize Intel. So I'll probably do that once everything. You can actually continue, and you're able to continue and install the hypervisor, but you got to make sure you got to go to BIOS and start and turn on your VT, so you won't get that error. So I want to continue with the installation. It allows you to continue with the installation, but once I'm going to shut it down, enable the VT, and then restart the VM. But let's continue. F11 to install, and it starts installing the hypervisor. And yes, so we're successful in installing the hypervisor into our virtual machine. So it basically tells you to remove any disk that you have. I want to remove the disk. Go to settings on my virtual machine. In your case, if you guys are doing it on a physical box, just eject CD drive and take the CD out, and then hit enter to reboot. Okay, so before I do anything, let me shut down this bad boy. I'm gonna shut it down the correct way. I'm gonna put the password in. I'm gonna turn VT on. VT on. BT, yeah, BT. Virtualization technology on the processor, and I'm gonna shut it down. And then once we shut it down, I'm gonna start the VM, and then I'm gonna explain what we just saw and what's what, and then we're gonna take it to the next step. So it's off, and we're gonna edit the virtual machine. We want to go to the processor. We want to turn this on, and we're gonna do Intel VTX or AMD V, and we're gonna press OK, and we're gonna start to power on this virtual machine. Again, you guys don't really need to do this because I recommend actually doing Hypervisor on a server, on a physical server, a physical machine, whichever way you want me to say it, an actual physical hardware machine, not a virtual machine. This is not a way to do it. Again, I know a lot of companies nowadays are moving towards virtualization and just virtualizing everything, but just there's certain things that you just don't virtualize. A good example is this. A good example of this is your Exchange server. I don't understand how people would virtualize their Exchange server. It's just crazy. I worked for a company that did that, and too many problems. Again, um, it's just certain things that you just don't virtualize. Okay, so this is your IP address that your hypervisor received from your DHCP server. Okay. You could always change the IP address to a static IP address. Just go to I can show you guys F2, and I'll put the password in. And go to configure management network and just go to IP configuration, and just you want to set a static IP, change all the information that you need from IP address, subnet, default gateway, press OK, and then you're good to go. Another thing, once you're done there and you have the new IP address, you're gonna reboot your hypervisor, and then it brings you back here, and then you want to go to that address. Now that address, we want to download the management tool. So 192.168.153.143 gives you this nice little error. Proceed anyway. And I want to download the vSphere. I'm downloading the client, and the client is pretty big. It's about 350 megabytes. I should have pre-downloaded this. But you guys get the gist. You go to this, download the vSphere client. Once you download that information, you're able to log in into your hypervisor. And we're done. So we're gonna open this bad boy up, get this vSphere client installed. Yep, English. We're gonna press OK. It's installing the VM vSphere client. There we go. I'm gonna hit next. You're gonna read through this if you want to. Hit next. Read more if you want to. Agree with it. Hit next. Give it a name. BJ and you can keep the default location, or you can change the location. I keep it as default for this demonstration. Hit next. Install. The client needs, Microsoft Visual. It needs other things for it to install and to work properly. I know in the past when I used to play around with this a lot, and Windows 7 was the latest thing. One of my Windows 7 boxes, I installed the client, it wasn't working properly, and I did download the correct 64-bit one, but for some reason it wasn't working properly. I had to do some research a while back and found another client that was working with Windows 7, which is weird. Installed it on my my Windows 7 box, and it was working perfectly fine. It was pretty weird. So I'm hoping everything goes well on this demonstration. Okay, so installation is done. Let's hit finish on this. Let's close this browser. Actually, let me go. Yeah, let me just minimize the browser. Minimize this. Go to the desktop, and the desktop has a new icon, the VMware vSphere client. You also go to your start, and you have it there. So we're gonna double click on it, and we're going to put the IP address of the visor. And again, if you was doing this on a work level and you have like DNS, you create an alias for DNS and actually write the name here. I'm gonna log in as root because I don't have any accounts set up to it yet. Yeah. Install a certificate and do not display any security. Ignore. It expires in 60 days. No worries with that. Again, this is only a demonstration. But if you did need to, let's go to inventory. And let's go to configuration. And let's go to license features. This is everything that the eval mode gives you. Just pretty good. They even give you vSphere VT. That's pretty good. They even give you vMotion. They give you a lot of things for this hypervisor, which is pretty interesting. Just go to edit, enter the serial number that they gave you when you registered and downloaded it, and good to go to shoot your rock and roll. Let's get started. Let's see what we can do here. And yeah, I'll close that out. Let me check something out. Am I able to hook this up into a domain controller? Just checking a couple of things out. Yeah, so you can always add your hypervisor into Active Directory, and the reason you want to do that is because if you have your hypervisor into Active Directory, you could create a group and add the group into your hypervisor, and then just add people that you want to have access to your VMware rather than creating accounts or using the root. Don't want to use the root to manage anything. You want to create a specific account that allows you to keep track of who's logging in and who's doing what. So the way that you do that, you go you go to configuration, authentication services, go to properties. On the drop down menu by default is local authentication because that's the way that we're logging in to root and whatever password we assign to it. Active Directory, the domain, join the domain, and you should be good to go. Okay, we're going to see what we can do. Let's go to summary. Okay, this looks pretty decent. Gives you a rundown of what's what. I want to browse the directory. I'm going to create a folder called ISOs. Within there, I'm going to drop an ISO. Let's see if I can find something small for this to work, which I really doubt it. And I think I have XP, and I do have XP, and that's the one I'm gonna choose. Press OK, hit yes. The reason why I'm putting an ISO in it is because I want to show you how to create a virtual machine once you got your hypervisor up and you have your client, because your client is your GUI, your GUI, your graphics user interface. This is where you normally do your management. This is where you do everything at. You don't go into your hypervisor to do what I'm doing here. You want something that's nice, friendly, that you could go in, do it quick. I think you are able to do it inside the hypervisor, but it's a lot of commands that you have to do. And if you don't want to deal with Unix commands and doing it, don't bother. Okay, so I have that up. Cool. Let's create a virtual machine. Go to new. We want a typical. Let's call this let's call it just, I don't know, BJXP VM1. You're gonna pick your database. I want it to be there. It's gonna be a Windows machine. And thing, how many NICs? I only want one NIC. I haven't set up the network yet, so we leave it as is. That's all I need is a. I'm gonna keep it as default. Hit next. Hit finish. Click on this guy. Go to console. And let's power it on. And it's powering on. It's going to DHCP. I don't have a Pixie boot on my network, so that should error out. Shouldn't have any problems. Now this is weird because I'm creating a virtual machine within a virtual machine, so there's a good chance it won't work. And let me check my settings one more time. And no. Okay, so let's power this off. For some reason, no worries. Go back to edit. Go to CD. Browse. There we go. Connect with that. Press that. Press power. There we go. Expecting. Like I said about 6 seconds ago, I have a virtual machine on a virtual machine, so I got the hypervisor virtualized, and then I'm creating a virtual machine inside the virtual machine. It's really weird. Again, it's not really best practices, but VMware is making this happen and allowing you to make this happen, so it's pretty cool. Again, self-explanatory. I know you guys are already done with this stuff, but I just wanted to show you guys how everything is being run, which is pretty cool. Everything is running pretty smooth, and I hope you guys enjoyed episode 7, this review. Let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Go to my blog. Check my blog out. Show some love. I hope you guys enjoyed, and see you next time.